Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope life is treating you fair and nothing but sunshine and green lights for the rest of the day. Man, it's been a week, but things are going well. Just doing fine. Now, I've got to say straight up, right up front, I have absolutely no idea what to talk about today, so I'm going to leave it up to y'all. Again, this has never been about me. It's always been about you. So if you got any comments, questions, concerns, just want to discuss or anything, throw it over here in the chat and we will get to it. I've had a few suggestions. Some of them I'm still researching, some of them I'm still scratching my head over, but I will get to them in due course. I do want to go back and revisit something, however. Last week I was talking about uh, spacing objects along a curve. And then I came back with the dimension tool and went center to center on some of these circles that I was putting along a curve. And I made a comment about, well, I don't understand why it's not giving me the correct measurement. And it wasn't until I got finished a little bit later on that day, I thought, well, you dummy, you were measuring horizontal distance. You weren't measuring along the curve. That's going to be different. So it's not going to give you the spacing you wanted because they're going to be spaced along that curve correctly, but they're not going to be spaced horizontal correctly. Then I promptly got some emails and some private messages explaining the same thing. So call it old timer's disease. I didn't clock on it live in real time. But it hit me, about a half hour, 45 minutes after we were done live. So that's why it wasn't giving me the measurement that I wanted. Okay, we got a good question here, starting right off from Steve-O. How difficult is it to surface a spoil board? I have a 3-inch bit, but a little hesitant to use it. It's not difficult at all. It is not difficult at all. It looks intimidating, but it's not difficult at all. There are several ways you can do it, and it's totally up to you, however you want to do it. If it's your first time and you're not really sure, what I would suggest is you get a piece of scrap material and mount it on your spoil board, and you practice with that. Make just a piece of scrap material that you can afford to throw away. It can be something as simple as a piece of a fence picket, a fence board, 18, 24 inches, however big you want, but something that'll fit easily within your CNC, its cutting capacity. And you can try it manually, meaning you steer the spoil board, you steer that bit over the surface and take shallow passes. It's easier to take more off. It's better to have to take more off later on than it is to take too much at one time. So take light passes. When I surface my spoil board, I don't know where you are, Steve-O, I take off about 20 thousandths of an inch per pass. And that equals out to about 0.5 millimeter if you're using metric per pass. If you have good if you have any kind of dust collection, use it. Otherwise, it's going to sling garbage all over the place. And I am convinced that MDF is a tool of the devil because the dust from MDF, it is invasive stuff and it'll get into places you didn't even know you had. I mean, you can keep all the doors in your cabinets closed. You can keep all the drawers closed. It will find a way in there, and it will be a fine tan powder that kind of makes you question your life decisions. But just take it slow. And again, you can do it manually, meaning you steer that bit back and forth by jogging it, whatever controller you have. Or what I do personally, I put and this is cheating. Basically, I put a magic marker, not a magic marker, a Sharpie, just a plain old black Sharpie in my half-inch collet. It doesn't fit perfectly. It's loose. And I found the rearmost reach of my CNC when I first built it and drew a line across the table. And then I made my spoil board 2 inches shorter than that. So I'm not using the full capacity of my CNC. What I do, I surface my spoil board using a raster pattern, and I surface along the y-axis. I don't go across. And it goes all the way to the back. It goes off of the spoil board and makes that X move over, and then comes back. And it comes off the front, just off of the spoil board, and makes that X move, and then goes back that way. That way I don't have the little marks of it making the X move on the spoil board. That's just me. It did reduce the cutting capacity of the CNC slightly, but not enough to matter. I can still lay a half sheet of plywood or a half sheet of MDF, and it will surface that or cut out whatever I want it to do. The main thing is to take off small passes, shallow passes. You can always make more passes. You don't want to take off too much at once. Now, I don't know what kind of spindle or router you have, but if it's a 3-inch diameter bit, I'm betting it's a 1/2-inch shank. It's probably capable of taking more off. I know some people like to take off a 1/4 inch per pass and get it done in one pass. If that works for you, fine. Personally, I want to take off as little as possible, but get everything. If you don't want to sit there and drive your bit around manually, get into your software, in my case, Vectric, and draw out just a rectangle that's a 1/2 inch wider than your spoil board. And in my case, I did 2 inches longer in both directions. So a total of 4 inches bigger than my spoil board. And then set my raster pattern using a 90-degree angle so that it went up and down on the Y. And all the X moves were made off of the spoil board. Your machine will take into account the diameter of the bit you're using. And your spindle will, in your case, come over to about 1.5 inches away from its max limit, side to side. So you shouldn't have any problem with limit switches there. And I'm assuming you have limit switches. Just remember to, for your first time, slow everything down until you get used to it. Your feeds and speeds should be slower and reasonable. I don't know how big your spoil board is, but until you get comfortable with it, set them conservative. That might mean, well, for that size bit, 14,000 RPM, and start no more than 150 inches a minute, assuming your machine will do that. But if you're going to be spinning a 3-inch bit, sounds like it's a pretty robust machine. That might seem slow, but if you've never done it before, it's better to be slow, and be able to hit that panic button should the need arise. So, all right, let's see here. I have a water-cooled spindle, ER20 collet, Axiom CNC, most of my CNC, and it's all in one spot, so about half is rarely used. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I've got the 4x4 that I purposely, you can't see it for all the stuff sitting on it. I have the 40, it's 48 by 48. The actual cutting capacity was 50 by 50. So I could do a whole piece of MDF, which is 49, well, a half sheet MDF, which is 49 by 49. But I purposely gave up some of that capacity to put my rotary axis along the Y over here, which cut my capacity down to 30, 38, I think it is. But I don't miss it because, like yourself, I very rarely ever use it. I have yet to use the entire capacity except for one time, and that was for a video on tiling. So, 8 Center says, might be better to keep a smaller top spoil board, leaving the full width spoil board alone. And you can do that as well. You can mount an auxiliary spoil board, and I do that on occasion. Like I have a piece of decent birch plywood that I use for when I do a two-sided job. I use that to drill my index holes in, so for my index dowels, so I'm not drilling into the spoil board itself. It's not that I baby my spoil board. I don't. All you have to do is look at it. You can tell I don't baby my spoil board, but it keeps me from drilling a hole through T-track or something like that. I'll use an auxiliary spoil board. So, I would. Steve says you'll still have the same problem of either surfacing the secondary spoil board or replacing. And that's the whole purpose of the spoil board. That's something sacrificial that you can cut into that you don't care about. And MDF is good for that. MDF is pretty flat. It's not perfectly flat. But if you're cutting something and you need to surface it first, which I recommend, especially if you're doing V-carving. You can mount that auxiliary piece of MDF on your spoil board, then mount your project to that, and then surface that, and then do your carving. So you will need a good surfaced spoil board first. So that is important to do. Then any auxiliary spoil board you use is just something there to save your spoil board. I don't bother with it most times, but I do use an auxiliary spoil board for my double-sided projects. It just, it makes things easy, and it works for me. And that's my overall thing. If it works for you, if you get the end result you want, and you do it safely, you do it without damaging the spoil board, you do it without damaging your tool, you do it without damaging your CNC, and it's done safely, not potential for starting fires or throwing stuff around that's going to hit you in the face or cause fumes that's going to run you out of the shop. If you get all those things, you did it right. Other people may have other ways of doing the same thing you did, but that's just their way and yours is yours. So it's never just one answer. There's always more than one answer, and there's always more than one way of doing things. And especially with something like Vectric or even most controller software, if it's Windows-based software, there is definitely more than one way of doing things. Whether you're into keyboard shortcuts or you're into anything else. But a bit that big is intimidating. for sure. So I suggest start with something smaller, a piece of scrap material that you can afford to throw away. I find the best place to come up with that kind of stuff is the free section on Craigslist. You will find all kinds of wood that's destined for the landfill, and I have no philosophical problems with carving up and chopping up and cutting up something that was destined for the landfill. You know, it beats the heck out of ruining $100 piece of mahogany or something like that. So, yeah. So, it's practice on smaller stuff that's within your machine's cutting capacity, and then move up to the spoil board. I mean, what you're surfacing may not be perfect, but you're getting experience at doing it. And again, draw a rectangle that's slightly larger than what it is you're going to be surfacing. And I don't use, a lot of people use it and they like it, and that's fine. Again, there's more than one way to do everything. I do not use the offset surfacing strategy. I use raster with 90 degrees along my Y. But it's your spoil board. It's your trip. Take it however you'd like to do. Just work yourself up to it if you feel intimidated by it. So, and I hope that answers that. Okay, let's see here. Powell Patterson says, I originally got a benchtop 6090 machine for the purpose of cutting acrylic templates from which to grind my molding knives. Ooh, nice. I scan a cross section and desire to trace the molding profiles manually. When I bring the image into VCarve and go to trace over it, the image mutes to near invisibility. Is there a way to keep a clear image to trace? Yes, there is. Let me get a, I'll go ahead and bring up, this is Aspire, but VCarve works exactly the same way, okay? And let me find an image. I'll see, I'm looking for an image to trace. I don't think any of these are appropriate. So I'll get over here and we'll find something. Come on, you can find a picture. I know I got a ton of pictures in this. This used to be my main design computer. We'll go with something simple. We'll go with an Impala. All right. Now you can see right here when I don't have it selected, it is kind of grayed out. When I select it, it's nice and bright. Well, what you want to do is right-click on that image, go to Appearance. Now here, you can select the fading of a non-selected bitmap, your image. So what you do if you increase it, you're increasing the amount of fading. If you decrease it, you're removing that amount of fading. Or you're lowering the amount of fading. So right now I got it at 0. And I'll click off out here somewhere, and you can see it's not dim at all. You can get in there and trace all those lines. But that might be a little bit confusing, so we'll right-click, go back to, whoops, select it, then right-click and go back to Appearance, and I'll increase the fading just a little bit so I can tell if it's selected or not. Now we got about 40%. Close. So I can tell it's not selected, but I can still see all those lines. And then when I select it, it brightens up like that. So that's basically the secret there, is just select it, right click, go to Appearance, and then adjust your fading right there. And you can make it as strong or as weak as you would like. So I hope that helps. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the way I've always done it. Let's see here. My hope is to use the curves and line tools to trace profiles, commonly crowns and door moldings. And VCarve is very good at that. It really is. You just have to, and my channel members are really going to get tired of me saying this, but because we've said it a lot, especially in the last few weeks. This is where tracing and node editing become essential skills again. So practice it. So let's see. Do we have any other questions here? No. Not yet. Kurt says, learn to use node editing. It's your friend. It is. Big time. It is your friend. And the more you use it, the more comfortable you'll become with it. And you're never going to become an expert with it in a short time. I've been using it, I'll see, about the first 2 years I had VCarve, and I started on VCarve Pro 7.5. About the first 2 years, I didn't use it much because I didn't like it. I hated it. But then I really got used to it and discovered the control that it gives you. But I'm still learning stuff about it. There are so many things that you can do. And this comes down to something I put in a video years back when I said 5 things I wish beginning CNCers would stop doing. And that was, one of them was, don't lose track of the big picture. We have to zoom in on our work in order to get in and do what needs to be done, whether it's fixing a curve or changing something away from what it actually, from what was represented, from what the tracing came up with. And I'm still learning about it. I'm still learning things. Okay, I'd say here, it is, it really, really is an essential skill. I got a couple here. Jim Brown says, show them how to reduce the nodes. Yes. And can you show a quick example of node editing, please, from Aaron Powell? Okay, I can do that. Let's go back over here to the Impala. And I've got the bitmap selected. I'll go ahead and I'll just do a simple bitmap trace. And I'll use black and white. And I'm going to leave everything as it is. I'm not going to group the vectors for this, however. I'm going to preview it. This is what it's going to trace. Okay? And we see there are simple things like this line is not solid all the way through. Now, that's fine. That may be okay. Let's see. I'm not really coming up with any good examples. I'll fake some examples. All right, I'm just going to leave that as is, or as is. I mean, I've got some things could be a little bit better. Let me try a little bit. Let's check the threshold here. No, I want to back out of that a little bit. I want to see the tires in there. Let's preview. Nah, I'm missing too many lines. So I need to bring the colors up. Preview that. That's a little bit better. I don't like this noise around the tire. I'm going to go back up here. There we go. We'll preview that. That looks better. We'll just ignore the tires for this demonstration. Okay. We'll apply that. I'll close it. Go back to design, Mark. Close it. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to turn off the bitmap layer so I can see the tracing. Okay. There are a lot of things wrong with this. One is I've got this line down here I don't necessarily want. I got some noise over here. I'm going to leave the artist's name in so he gets credit for the drawing. But I've got a lot of stuff going on in here. And there's some stuff down in here that I'm not a real fan of. I got a bunch of little pieces here that I don't like. So, to answer Jim's question, first of all, in order to reduce the number of nodes, first we need to know what we're dealing with. So I'm going to go Control, hold down the Control key and tap the letter A to select all the vectors. Then I'm going to tap N on my keyboard to go into node editing mode. And look at all the nodes. We've got a bunch. We've got some sitting right on top of one another. We've got them spaced fairly apart. But then we get down here and we got nodes all over the place. We've got nodes here that aren't really accomplishing much. As they're so close together, we could simplify this. So to reduce the number of nodes we have, I'm going to tap the letter N again to come out of node editing mode. I'm just going to get rid of this right here. There's no purpose for it. It's just noise. There, that's gone. Then all I did was select it and tap the letter D. So now I'm going to hold down Control, tap the letter A again to select all of the vectors. And I'm going to go over here under Edit Objects, third row down, third icon, to Curve Fit. Fit curves to the selected vectors. What this is going to do is it's going to simplify this drawing, and it's going to remove some of these nodes. Now, we've got several choices, and this is giving me a representation of these nodes. We can use circular arcs to change some of these Bezier curves to arcs and some of these straight lines to arcs, and that will eliminate some of these nodes real close together. So we can go ahead and we can preview that. And we see how many nodes just doing that removed. That simplified it a lot. Okay? Oh, I got to make sure replace selected vectors is checked. You want to make sure that that is checked. Otherwise, you're going to create duplicate vectors and then it'll be a nightmare. Okay? To work with. So that did simplify it. It took out quite a few extra nodes that weren't necessarily needed. We don't want to go to straight lines because we've got a bunch of curves here, and that will actually add nodes. So I want to stay away from straight lines. This does have a place But for this type of project with all these curves and the bottoms of the tires and the wheels and all that other stuff, it's not a good fit. Let's try Bezier curves. And we'll click preview, and that reduced it even more. It's made all of these subtle Bezier curves rather than these arcs that we were dealing with and the straight lines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accept that. And that has reduced the number of nodes in the design. So I can click off and I can take a look at it, and it's still the same design. It's just we've cleaned it up, tightened it up a little bit. Now we need to take a look at it. I could go ahead and I could toolpath this right now, but there are some things that I don't like. And this comes into, again, taking into account the full project, looking at the big picture. If I look up here, I've got my X0 line here, -6 to +6. This piece of material is only 12 inches wide. And this is a fairly small model. Let me Control A again. And I'm going to go to Set Selected Object Size. And we can see that it's 11.61 by 2.89. So it's less than 3 inches tall. It's less than 11 5/8 wide. It's a fairly small representation. So what we got to do is we got to decide what we want to keep, what we want to get rid of, and what's never going to be seen. So we can start by zooming in here, and all these little squares here, this thing right there, that is never going to be seen. I can just delete that. I can delete that. And I can delete that. And I don't know what that is, but it certainly isn't going to be seen. And I can come in here and I can get rid of all these little rectangles. There's another one right there. Now you can drive yourself crazy doing stuff like this. Going in and checking out every little piece and getting rid of this and getting rid of that. You can really drive yourself nuts. But then again, back way out. And remember, this is less than a foot long. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. It's not going to be seen. So I can get rid of this. I can get rid of this. Then I can come up to the front wheel. And I can look, yep, I got more right here. I can get rid of this. Now this is not node, whoops, don't want to select that one. Zoom in. Now this is not node editing, but this is also an essential part of the project. You know, I can box select going from left to right, and only the things within that box will be selected. Boom. Gone. I'm just hitting the delete key. And got rid of those. And got rid of those. And we'll take care of that little. I'll be there. Okay, that's all I'm going to do on that score. So that's not node editing, that's deleting. Now we've got these shadows in here. And I've got this weird looking little thing going on right here. Let me get rid of this first of all. So I'm going to select, I can get rid of that. But I've still got this weird little curve right here, and I don't understand why it decided to put that curve there. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to tap the letter N, and I'm going to go into node editing. Now what I can do here, I can do a little bit of a cheat. If I want to get rid of this curve inside, first thing I can do is just pop my cursor right over that curve, and you see how that cursor changes from an arrowhead to a set of crosshairs. That means that I am that I am right over a node that can be edited. Then I'll right click, and I'm just going to delete that point. Point and node in this context are the same thing. They're interchangeable. The terms are. Boom. Now I've gotten rid of that. That's one part of node editing. Now, if I decide that this span here between this and this node doesn't need to be a curve, it can be a straight line. I can move my cursor right over that, and you see how that little tilde appears underneath that arrowhead. That tells me I'm near a vector or a span of the vector that can be edited. And I can right-click that, and I can change that to a line. So now I don't have that curve to concern myself with. That's just a straight line. Just a couple of examples of node editing to clean up something, reduce the number of nodes that you're working with, yet still have a nice project. Now here I got another one. I can just highlight that, box select it, and delete it. It's not necessary. Now, node editing is powerful in that it will let you correct what would look like an error. You see how close, how far apart these lines are right here, these two vectors. When we get over here, they're real close together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that vector right here. And now what I want to do, I don't want to change what that vector is. I still want it to be a Bezier curve. I just want to modify it a little bit. And I'm going to do that with this handle here. This is a smooth point. I'm going to do it by putting my cursor over that handle, and we see the crosshairs again. I'm going to click it, and I'm going to drag it down just a little bit. And you see how it moved those two vectors apart, but did not really change that shape. I can back out, and now these vectors here are a little bit further apart, but they maintain a nice looking shape. Again, when we zoom out, that's not something you would probably notice. But it's important because when the V-bit comes along to carve this, the less space between these two vectors, the shallower it's going to cut. So I might want to select this one here and bring this up a little bit, just a little, and open that up a little bit more. Now the only problem is this is really went further apart. So let me click off, select this vector, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this control handle, I'm going to pull it out, and just pulling it out changes the shape. Problem with it is, I'm going to Control Z to undo that, it's also reducing the space here. So maybe this is the wrong node to adjust. Maybe I need to come over to this one. Now, if I look at this node, the control handle for it is way out here. So let me shorten that up a little bit. And let me bring it up slightly. And that helped reduce that a little bit. Well, now what do I do if I just need to move a node? What if it's in the wrong position? I can move it. I can select that node by clicking on it, and it also highlights the handle. And now I can move that node wherever I want it. I'm going to Control Z because I don't want to do that. If I need to select more than one node, let me find a better example. Here we go. There's one where you've got a couple of real close together. If I want to select more than one node, I just draw a box around both of them. Now both of those are selected. Now I can use my cursor down key, the little arrow pointing down on my keyboard. I can bring that down a little bit, or I can bring it back up, or I can move them to the left, I can move them to the right. Just whatever I need to do to get that shape going. So, Butch Miller says, when working with control handles, is there a way to make minor adjustments using mouse alone? Easy. It is easy to overcorrect, but something to know is it is proportional. Like if I want to adjust this handle here, the more I zoom in, the finer those adjustments are going to be. So I can drag that down just a little bit and just change that shape, just a subtle little change. Now when I zoom out and look at it, then I Control Z. Again, that was this node right here. You could see a little bit of a change along that vector, but it was so minor, by the time you zoom out here and you look at the whole project, you wouldn't even notice that you did it. But that might be necessary. So, Dwayne says, as you said earlier, Mark, know what the end result is going to be, a V-carve or a line cut. Exactly. Now, and Dwayne makes a good point here. If you've got a couple of options here. This can either be V-carved. And let me go ahead and I'll select all this, tap N to come out of node editing, and let's go over and let's do a V-carve. 90-degree V-bit, I don't think that's going to be a good match, so we'll go with a 30-degree V-bit, select, and I'm just going to go with whatever is selected. I'm not going to use any clearance tools. I'll just go with whatever it is. And we're going to calculate. I'm going to continue anyway. I'm not going to worry about intersections. I'm just going to calculate. And we're going to give that tool path black. And we're going to preview it. And that looks pretty clean. But you'll notice up here where I was playing around with it, we have a good solid line. There's a few gaps on the body sculpture lines. That's fine. I can turn on the vectors so we can see what I mean. If you'll notice, you see these vectors right along here, that body sculpture line. If I turn off that vector, we've got gaps. I'm fine with that. I've got the indication of them, but it did not carve those gaps. And the reason for that is because this is a V-carve. Let me jump back over to the 2D view where it's a little bit easier to see. We can come in here and we can take a look, and these lines are so close together. You can see right here. Scoot over. These lines are so close together, even that 30-degree V-bit was too big to get in between these two vectors. So doing a V-carve may not be the right option for this. Let me close this. Wait a minute. Nope. Let me go in and reset the preview. Now we'll close it. Back to the 2D view. Control A to select all. Now I'm going to do a profile toolpath. And I'm going to make my cut depth a 1/16 of an inch. So 0.0625. And I'm going to use a 30-degree V-bit, the same V-bit. Select. And I want to carve on the vector. And I'm not going to change anything else. That's all I'm going to do. This is a profile again. I'll calculate it and give the toolpath color the same color. And now we're going to preview this one. Now I got a lot more of these body sculpture lines. But if you'll notice, it's all pretty heavy. And that's because I had to go to a depth of a 1/16 of an inch. Maybe that's too much. So we'll reset the preview, go back, and we're going to go with a 32nd of an inch. 3125. And I would never carve something this shallow. I'm just using this as an example. Calculate it and preview it. Much better. It's not so deep. But I would, again, never carve anything that shallow. We're only talking about a 32nd of an inch. For those of you on metric, 0.03125 is, well, that's 3/4 of a millimeter, 0.79 millimeters. But the problem with it is it's also very easy to sand out. If you put even some 220 grit sandpaper on this and sand it back, you're probably going to lose a third of it anyway, because it's so shallow. But the point being is using the profile and cutting on these vectors to a specific depth, you get a different result than if you V-carved. Because, like for instance, if we look up here, this looks like one solid line. It actually carved on both of the vectors. Let's turn the vectors on. It carved on both of these vectors. You can see a little shadow of areas that didn't get carved right there. That didn't get carved because it's carving on this vector and this vector. So knowing which, Dwayne's point is 100% valid. Knowing which of these methods you're going to use will help to guide you on how much node editing you actually need. But the point remains, let's get back over here into the 2D view, go back into node editing. The ability to get in here and move these around or eliminate them if needed. Like right here, this could be a line. There's no need for that to be a Bezier curve. I just go to line and then go up here. Oops, which one did I select? I'll make that a line. I got no control handles, but I don't need control handles. I've got a corner that I can use here. Now, 8 Center had a question up here. How do you keep a sharp point using only smooth points, especially when tracing with lines? Okay. Smooth points give you the ability to control, but it's not a Bezier curve. And the way you can tell the difference, this, for instance, is a Bezier curve. The way I can tell is there's no check mark here next to smooth point. Okay? Let me click out of that. Click back onto this. And this is a smooth point. Now the question is, using a smooth point, how do you maintain a sharp corner? Let's take a look up here where we already have a sharp corner. Is this a Bezier or a smooth point? It's a Bezier. So let's make it a smooth point. Now the question is, using smooth points, how do you keep that sharp corner? The answer is, you really can't. Because here's the difference. with smooth points, when you move one handle, you move the other handle as well. The only editing really I can do with this is adjust the length of travel. So I'm going to Control Z, 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 get back out of that. Whereas a Bezier curve, let me make this a Bezier real quick here, to Bezier, and I will insert a point here. Boom. With a Bezier curve, I can move this handle. I can move this handle. But it doesn't, it does too move the other handle. Now see, normally I would be able to move one handle independently of the other, like so. I've got this handle here. Maybe it's because it's in the center of a span. See, I can move this handle and that handle doesn't move. I think it's because it's in the center of a span. So I can adjust this handle here. Control Z to undo that. Oh, okay. I mean, with tracing, the curve can overshoot the line you're trying to follow. So just trace, allow the curve, then edit it out after the whole thing is done. You can do that, or you can zoom in on your tracing and try to be a little bit more accurate with it. Tracing with a mouse is not simple. It's not easy. I can just come out of note editing here. Well, it's simple, but it's not easy. I don't know about your hands, but my hands are not very steady these days. One of the reasons why I haven't made any videos, because I'm in a long time, because I'm not really in control of that hand. But some people find that using a tablet, like a Wacom tablet, is a lot easier to control with a stylus. And in fact, most modelers, that's what they use. I know some people that work with vectors, they use them as well. But it's 100% up to you. Other than that, what I would say is pretty much what you suggest. Just run that curve and come back and edit it afterwards. Again, it's an essential skill. And you will find the more work you do with vectors, the more you're going to get into node editing. So, what if you brought one handle down to the center point of the two handles? Then you could just move the one handle to make it sharp. Well, I can try, John. And I think it was this one. Was it this one that I turned into a Bezier? Let's see, where were we? Were we down here or were we up above? I think we were up above. Yeah, we were up above. And it was... I think I removed the Bezier. Let's go back to Bezier. And I've got a handle here. I'll insert a point. Boink. And now, where's my handles here? I'll bring this handle back here. And where's my other handle? Way out here. I'll bring that back in here. And let's see, bring it into the point. It'll only let me get so close. And it still wants to move the other point. Mainly because I'm changing the shape. John, bring the other one down here. Now, can I move this one without moving the other one? No, I'm changing the overall shape of the vector, and I don't think that's gonna play nice. Whereas this one up here, that is on a corner. So But to your broader point 8 center, the um, yeah, it would just basically have to be draw the curve as close as you can get it, and if it overshoots, bring it back. You know. Okay. Paul Patterson said, I brought a crown molding profile into VCarve and tried the right click on the image as you showed, but didn't see an appearance option. Is it what you say you brought the profile? Is it a bitmap image, JPEG, PNG, something like that? Because that's what you're looking at. It's a bitmap image. If it's not a bitmap image, and you also have to make sure you have it selected before you right click it. So let me turn on the bitmap here. Bitmap. Okay, and I'm going to turn off layer 1. Oops. No, I'm not going to turn off layer 1. I'll turn it back on. You have to have, let me come out of node editing. There we go. You have to have the JPEG selected. So click on it, then right click. An appearance should be there. Also, let me ask you this about that. What version of VCarve are you using? Because there are different places and different names for the same tools on older versions. What I'm talking about is on version 12 and up. So if you use an 11.5, it's a little bit different. Oh, sure, Butch. Just abandon us for wine. Okay, you're using 11.5. That explains it. That's why appearance isn't there. All right, let me do something real fast here. And I'm going to go, let's see. I don't have 11.5 on this computer. I only have 12.0. Let me check VCarve. Do I have VCarve? Do I have an earlier version of VCarve on this? No, all I have is 12.0. Okay, select. I'm trying to remember what the command is an 11.5. I think it's right click on the JPEG and go into properties and see is that it. Select the JPEG, right click, and I think it's properties. And there should be your fading there. They have changed things. So, and I don't have an older version on this computer. I have another computer in the house where I go all the way back to version 8. I started with the trial version of 7.5, and then when version 8 came out, I bought VCarve Pro. So, and let me know, Powell, if you find it or if it's not there. I may have the terminology wrong. So, amen, brother. Amen. That's all I'll say about that. No properties. Okay. All right, pal. Let me look at that. Again, I don't have an older version on this computer. So when I get in the house, I will look at that on my older computer, and I'll get it to you somehow. If you, on my channel up there where it's got a description, I'm just a goofball with a small shed and some benchtop power tools. If you click on more, you will find my email address, and you can email me and I'll have an answer for you. If I don't hear from you in the next couple of days, what I'll do is I'll just put it in a comment. So, I do not know whether. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what settings you have on your computer. It may be blocking a pop-up because it will create a pop-up. What he's talking about is he's hitting that little $sign down at the bottom of the chat to donate, and I do appreciate that. Totally not necessary, but I do appreciate it. It should open a little pop-up screen asking you how much and what you want to do. And I do appreciate it, but again, totally unnecessary. And it made you it wants to open a pop-up, and your settings may not allow that. So send you some cool project pics, 3D cutting boards, okay, epoxy tops and more. Okay, yeah, like to see them. Like to see them. Always like to see the stuff folks are making. All right, there's no need to have this up here anymore. So that was just kind of a quick and easy, brief go over. Again, for those of you who are asking about node editing, I'll just add that one of the reasons why reducing the number of nodes, let me bring this back now that I said I don't need it anymore. One of the reasons for reducing the number, well, the main reason for reducing the number of nodes, let me Control A, go back into node edit again. If we look at this overall, what node editing, what each one of these nodes is a start point and a stop point and a destination along the way. Okay? Let me come out of node editing. We'll come down here and I'll draw a line from here to here. Okay? Now, with that line selected, I'll go into node editing. And, oh, I was drawing a Bezier curve to line. All right. I've got a simple line here. I've got a start point, which is in green, and I've got an end point, which is in black. So when I calculate whatever toolpath, let's say I'm going to do a profile cut on this line, the computer has to do the math from this start point to this end point. One calculation. Now, if I come along and I insert a point here, insert a point here, insert a point here, even though it's all that one straight line still, now the computer has to calculate from here to here, then from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from there to here, etc., all the way around. So when we look at this up here, that's a lot of calculations it's got to do to make these shapes. That's where you end up with long, long G-code files. And that does slow down the work. Now, it may just be a few seconds, but that creates a bigger G-code file. So the easier you can make it on the computer, the fewer calculations it has to do. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. The fewer calculations it has to do, the better. It makes for briefly shorter machine time, not much. I mean, a second or two here and there. But, well, let's see what 8 Center has to say. Think of it as nodes are the stop points where the machine adjusts the math, and compass points to its final destination, instead of just getting a bearing for the mountain and heading straight. Exactly. Exactly. So, If it stops to adjust the math every second, it takes longer to get to the mountain. Exactly. That's more calculations it's got to do to go from here to here. And while the machine may not actually stop, it's going to figure it in and it may adjust. There's not a direction change, but it gets back into what a vector actually is. Vectors don't exist in the real world. Vectors are just a visual representation that you and I can see of the math the computer has to do to go from here to here. It's 100% mathematics using the Cartesian coordinate system. So, okay, did you bring the molding in from the clip art files in VCarve? I see the same thing, so I think it's a clip art thing. I think he's talking to... okay, John Thompson, to the rescue. I opened 11.5, brought in a JPEG, right-click on the image. It says Object Properties. Click on it, and a slider comes up to change the image fade. Okay, there's your answer. There's your answer. And Ellen said very similar. In VCarve 11.5, adjusting the fade is in the Object Properties when you right-click the image. So, Object Properties. All right. Thank you both. Thank you both for that. I just couldn't remember. I scan a thin slice, then I scan. Okay, yeah, hey, that works. Murphy's Law of Combat number 6. If it's stupid but it works, it isn't stupid. So, yeah, whatever works for you. And then you trace from there. That makes sense. So you're actually making cutters for a molder for that, using that. I mean, there's a lot of demand for that. Of course, I'm sure you're doing it. So I have a friend back in Massachusetts who his specialty is restoring antique beds. We're talking federal period and things of that nature, old beds. And he also creates museum quality reproductions. The guy is he's just an absolute artist with a lathe. Everything done by. He has one pattern lathe, but he just uses that to round stock and make approximates, then brings it over on his big lathe and he does it all by hand. And the man is just a wizard with that kind of thing. And he just got a new molder that he uses for, headboards, footboards, what have you. And he doesn't have time to make his own cutters. He's just too busy. But, okay, yeah, a 5-head molder. Oh, wow, the big boys. Ooh, man, make me jealous. Aaron Powell says, I import DXF files a lot of the time, and you should be accustomed to node editing. If you're going to be working in DXF files, you're going to be doing some node editing. And that's simply because not all DXF files are created equal. And DXF files, it depends. Some of them are created in CAD/CAM software like VCarve Pro or Aspire, or some others are made in just CAD software like AutoCAD, TurboCAD, whatever. And it's down to the draftsperson who does it. How many times did they click that left mouse button? And something else to remember is something done in like AutoCAD, I'm going to say generally speaking, because it's very rare that it's not this way. If you zoom in on those curves, you'll find those curves are not curves at all. They're just a bunch of little bitty line segments, straight line segments. And that's really going to complicate things with your machine. So if you can get in there and create arcs or even Beziers without, and get rid of those straight line segments, your machine will thank you. Trust me. If you can, when you go to export, you use QCAD. I don't know if QCAD will let you do it. If you can export arcs as arcs, you make life easier for your machine. But most DXF files, they convert any arc or curve that you've drawn in the CAD software. It'll convert to it'll convert them to a bunch of little line segments, and it can be a nightmare. I don't have an example right off the top of my head that I can think of. I know I've got one on this computer. I just can't remember where it is or what it is. So, yeah, your machine will thank you if you can. Let's see. Powell says, and a profile grinder. I grind tooling for our own molder and customers with smaller shop fox, William Hussey type. Nice. So far, I cast templates with resin. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We haven't been quite on for an hour and a half, but that's all right. I got plants to plant out in the yard before the rain comes, and I'm kind of tap dancing now. Tomorrow, channel members, our members only live stream. We were supposed to have special guests. They had to postpone a week. So if you think I was tap dancing today, bring your own hat and cane and we can tap dance together tomorrow. I have no idea what we're going to do, but I know I can rely on you, channel members, to come up with a good idea. So email me suggestions. You've got my email. Send me your suggestions. Otherwise, we're just going to spend however long sitting here watching me breathe. And ain't nobody got time for that. But we'll do it tomorrow at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. And you'll find the link. I haven't created it yet. I will create it as soon as I get back in the house before I go out and plant plants. You'll find the link over on the posts tab on my YouTube channel. If you have your notifications set up, you'll get an email notification that I've created it, where you'll have all the links. Also, don't forget, Thursday, we do the 3D printing live stream. I got some good news today on that front. More on that Thursday when I've got things a little bit more concrete. And then don't forget next Saturday, our just general BS session Zoom call that we like to do for members only. And we had a real good one last night. I mean, we talked about everything from stock car racing. Yeah, that's what I said, Steve. To Army war stories and a few things in between. It's just a group of people hanging over the back fence with a glass of iced tea and talking about life, the universe, and everything. So that's all for members only. Next Sunday, I have no idea what we're going to talk about, much like today. So send me your suggestions. Make a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what you're tired of seeing. Let me know what you think. Again, this has never been about me. This has always been about you. And if you need something explained, you want to know more about a topic, let me know, and I'll work on it. So, um, if you don't know what I'm talking about with all the membership stuff, channel membership stuff, and everything, somewhere below this video panel right now that you're watching, you'll see the word join. Go ahead and click on that word join. You're not joining anything, you're just getting information. There's no obligation. Just click that word join, and another video is going to play. It's going to tell you all about channel membership. We have a great group of folks, and there's plenty of room for you too. We can get you hooked up with the super secret WhatsApp group and the super secret Facebook group and the super secret Facebook chat, and teach you the handshake and the whole thing. It's a great time and a great group of people, not an ego amongst them, and every one of them is dedicated to helping one another succeed in whatever, whether it be 3D printing, laser, or CNC. We're all there to help each other succeed, and it's a great time. It's a great group of people. So, channel members, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Powell. I will check my email. Channel members, I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody else, I will see you next Sunday. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. And y'all take care. Have a great day.